Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by Lynda.com. Learn what you want when you want with access to over 2,400 high-quality online courses, all for one low monthly price. To try it free for 7 days, visit lynda.com/knowhow. That's LYNDA.com/knowhow. Today on Know-How, we're going to learn all about drones hauling around some Wi-Fi OS X tips that you've been waiting for, a little bit of a camera top monitor, and also a special super secret tip for Adobe Premiere Pro. Welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I'm Father Robert Balaser.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
For the next half hour or so, we're going to take you around some projects that we've been playing with to, let you geek out in the real world.
Because we don't geek out in the real world at all, usually.
I hate the real world.
No. Outside?
In the real world, I'm fat.
Yeah,
Old.
I know. It's
in the
scary,
virtual world,
right?
I'm like,
I know.
it's awesome.
Well, you know, they say the camera's add a few pounds anyway.
I have every camera's
There's
10
like
pounds.
50 cameras in here.
Exactly. So sad. So true. But you know what? Before we get to the geeking out, there's actually been a couple of news stories that I thought might make for an interesting banter segment. You want to talk a little bit about Wi-Fi?
Yeah. So you were talking to me about how the U.S. military or the Air Force was going to use drones to do hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots?
Yeah. So there was a story in Wired and a couple of other outlets over the weekend about how the United States Air Force is looking at repurposing older drones, those first-generation drones. You know, the ones that they first started flying around. They look kind of like model planes, right?
Right.
The drones of today are ridiculous. I mean, they're basically like Boeing 777s compared to the flyer from Kitty Hawk.
So the evolution of drones has accelerated. They're like cell phones. So like after a couple years, the new one's out. So. Right.
And so the military is like, wait a minute, we've got a bunch of these older drones that are still really good. I mean, they're very, very capable. It's just they don't have the stealth
cool
loitering. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have all the cool stuff.
And they don't want them collecting dust, and it's not like they can use them to spy on citizens yet. So
right. And actually, the funny part is they can't even use them for target practice. So what they do with some of the older fighter jets is
blow them up.
Yeah, they blow them up. They equip them with automation so they can test out missile systems and gun systems.
Well, so we have our own little drone here.
Yeah.
When this one breaks, or we get a new one, can we blow it up?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll probably crash it again before that happens.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone's taking a turn at crashing this thing. But the difference between this drone and what the United States Air Force is trying to do with their drones is they're actually developing a technology or pumping $2.7 million over the next 4 years into a computer science department at the University of Buffalo to develop what's called cognitive radio.
That's okay. Cognitive radio. That just makes me think of like a really smart radio.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's just like the title sounds. So when we use wireless in either the 2.4 or the 5 gigahertz spectrum, what we're basically doing is we're hoping that no one else is talking on the same frequency at the same time. Right.
And because of the way the FCC has done things, they've segregated certain allotments of spectrum for certain devices.
Right, exactly. Exactly in the 2.4 gigahertz range, there's really only 3 channels that you can speak in. In the 5 gigahertz range, you have up to 23 channels that you can speak in. But even then, you're assuming that no one's going to end up on the same channel at the same time, transmitting data in the same pulse, because what's going to happen is you collide and you have to retransmit. Yeah, that's interference.
Okay.
Well, cognitive radio is actually a way to increase the number of devices that are active within a particular spectrum of RF energy without having to worry about all that interference, all that collision.
Right, because effectively it can switch between any spectrum depending on which it needs to maintain like a good connection.
Exactly. It's agile. It's smart radio. So what you do is if you could properly develop this technology, this cognitive radio, you have a bunch of devices that are aware of all the other devices in the network. So it knows, oh, okay, I've got a little bit of space here in the 2.4 gigahertz range, a little bit of space in the 5 gigahertz range, maybe some of these other ranges that the FCC opens up. I'm going to use as much of that as possible, but when I start to get interference, I just jump away. It's kind of like what Bluetooth is supposed to be like, but a much higher power.
So effectively, they can make these hotspots that you can't interfere with, and you get a great internet connection, and no problem, you don't get interference.
Well, I mean, that's why the United States military is interested, because with the increase of drone use, they would love a technology that is absolutely impenetrable by jamming. If you could create a smart device or a smart set of devices that have the ability to automatically jump away from whatever interference there may be, then you increase the capabilities of your drones. Now, they're going one step further. This is the cool thing. You could actually mesh these things.
And create like a large network in an area that doesn't have any...
instant network. So right now what they do is, to communicate with drones, they're going up to satellites and they're coming back down from satellites down to the drone, Well, with this, which there's a lot of latency there, it's not exactly real-time control. If you had a mesh of intelligently controlled drones with intelligent cognitive radios in them, you could send up like a fleet of drones, and they would communicate with each other. It's just like a miniature internet. They're all bouncing packets off of each other in whatever frequencies that they can find, so that there's always a communication path from any device to any device. Extend that one step further down to the ground, and now people could have an a super high-speed network that's supported by drones circling over them.
That is super cool. A little scary. Imagining you know, a fleet of drones up in the air doing something like that, but what's cool is Google's already doing something pretty similar, but they're doing it with balloons.
So what was the project?
It's called Project Loon, and I think I put the link in the doc. Yeah, there you go, Al. And Google's been working on this for a while, and it's basically sending up balloons in areas that don't have internet and using the different wind currents in the atmosphere to provide internet to places that don't have it. And it's a lot, because ground internet connections is pretty expensive and harder to maintain. Balloons is a cheap way of providing the infrastructure that they need for providing internet.
And what balloons provide, what Project Loon provides, is this loiter time, Because even with drones, even with these long-lasting drones that can hover,
even if they're solar powered.
Even if they're solar powered, I mean, some of the more advanced ones can loiter over an area for 48 hours. But with a balloon, since you're really only limited by the lift that the balloon itself has generated, you can get loiter time in weeks, in months.
And they can skip between the air currents too. So, they could move a few miles in one direction and then move to another current and raise and lower itself.
Well, when I was still hot air ballooning in St. Louis, that's how you control your balloon. You know that the wind is going in this direction, north to south, up to this altitude. And then right above that, it's going from south to north. So you know that if you do this little circle, altitude circle, you just go back and forth, and all you have to do is either inflate or deflate your balloon.
That's a pretty cool idea.
So combine Loon with cognitive radios.
Exactly. So that's what it probably will mean for the consumer in the future, that maybe that we'll have just wireless internet.
Well, anything that can give me sort of access at a moment's notice, it's sort of the network on demand. That's kind of the next frontier for geeks. I mean, it's nice to have your hardwired network, but what we've all realized is sometimes, as you mentioned, it's difficult to get a hard line out. Conventional wireless isn't going to work so well. So if you've got something like a Project Loon, if you've got something like a fleet of mesh drones, a swarm of drones, then you can do some interesting things.
The idea of cognitive radio, I guess, has been around for a long time, but it's not until now that we have the technology where things have shrunk that we can actually take advantage of it.
Because you have to build the smarts in, and the smarts mean processing power, and processing power uses up space and power. So, this way, we finally have the tech to shrink it down to like a postage stamp and get all the smarts in there.
So that's when Skynet was born.
And now we're all going to die thanks to the rise of the machines. Speaking of the rise of the machines, the way that you fight that rise is you stay smarter than the machines.
And that's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do,
But
no.
there's something that'll make it easier.
I think so, yeah. Specifically, we're talking about Lynda, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
They have plenty of stuff to keep your knowledge going on.
That's right. Lynda helps you keep one step ahead of Skynet. And so that's why we're so happy to have Lynda as a supporter of Know-How. Now, the question is, what do you want to do in this coming year? Do you want to learn a little bit about photography? Maybe a little bit about Adobe Premiere? Maybe you need some business skills to apply for that next job. Or maybe you're just like Brian and myself and you just like knowledge. You like flipping through a textbook. You like looking through the encyclopedia. You like surfing the internet to find new things. Well, folks, that's what Lynda is all about.
Stay ahead of the drones.
Stay ahead of the drones. Now, Lynda is an online learning company. With lynda.com, you can receive unlimited access to thousands of online video courses that cover a variety of software, creative, and business skills. For example, on Arduino, you can start programming interactive objects with Arduino Uno, the open source single board microcontroller, which is the smarts that go into devices like these drones. You can also learn how to set up your GoPro Hero to start capturing stills, video, or even time-lapse, or how to get great sports footage. There's also a course on Blackmagic cameras, which is where it's at in the 4K arena, when you can get to know the features of the popular cinema and production 4K cameras, and you can decide if a Blackmagic camera is right for you. And if you're interested in 3D printing, and really, who isn't? You can learn the basics of what 3D printing is and how you can use it to create objects from prototypes to working tools. Now, I've been using Lynda over the last couple of months to brush up on my skills for Know-How and for Coding 101. For example, I used it for Adobe Premiere because there are a lot of things that I may have learned, but I've kind of forgotten over the year, or I need to brush up for how to do them in the new version of Adobe Premiere.
Right. And for example, here at Twit, we're switching over from Final Cut 7 to Premiere, which I've used, but I get a little rusty.
Right, and so it's always nice to have that reference, that online help book that's never further than a few clicks away on your keyboard. Now, Lynda has over 2,400 courses with more added weekly. All lynda.com courses are produced at the highest quality. These aren't those homemade videos on YouTube, which are great because, you know, we love YouTube. We love the content creator, but sometimes you don't want to have to worry about the wiring or a bad camera angle or horrible audio. You just want the content.
The only thing I have against YouTube is I'll watch part 1 of a video and then it's like, okay, part 1 finished, where's the next one?
Where's part 2?
And then it like shows me the suggested links and it's part 7. I'm like, what about
You know,
the other
actually,
one?
I will say that when I was still creating tutorials, I kind of liked doing that. I'd like skip a part 1, part 2, then like part 6.
I'll get to the other ones later. Yeah, let those YouTube guys figure it out.
Now, lynda.com works with software companies to provide you updated training the same day that new versions hit the market. This is what I was talking about with Premiere, so that you'll always have the latest skills. At lynda.com, the instructors are accomplished professionals at the top of their fields, and they're passionate about teaching. These aren't people who just know the book learning. They've actually been in the field. They've actually done these skills that they're teaching. That's why it's always so wonderful to watch them and their passionate plea to learn these skills. You get courses for all experience levels, from beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and you can watch from your computer, your tablet, or your mobile device. Whether you have 15 minutes or 15 hours, each course is structured so that you can learn from start to finish. You can also search the transcripts to have quick answers, which is what I love. You don't have to scroll through an entire video. You could look at the transcript, find the exact question you want answered, and jump to that part of the video. It's part of the Lynda difference. Lynda.com also offers certificates of completion when you finish a course, which means that you can publish it to your LinkedIn profile so that people know that you've actually done training in that field. So here's what we want you to do. We know that you love knowledge as much as we do. So we want you to learn something new with lynda.com. It's only $25 a month for access to the entire lynda.com course library, or for $37.50 a month, you can subscribe to the premium plan, which includes exercise files that let you follow along with the instructor's projects using the exact same assets. And you can try lynda.com right now with a free 7-day trial. Visit lynda.com/knowhow to access the entire library. That's over 2,400 courses free for 7 days. It's all at lynda.com/knowhow. And we thank Lynda for their support of Know-How. Brian, this is the time where we're going to start talking about Mac OS X tips, right?
That's right.
Oh, wait.
Do we have enough time for that,
hold on.
though?
I
keep
think
getting interrupted.
we can do it this time. Yeah, if we do it quick.
I'm always
All
worried
right.
about him. He's got his finger on that button. Okay, well,
Thanks, TD.
if that's the case, if now we can bring them into the knowledge, what
Right.
do you say we...
Well, I want to preface, nothing's going to blow your mind about this. I mean, these are good, these are tips, these are things that I picked up after the years of working at Twit. Because when I first came here, I never used Macs. So it was a learning experience for me, and these are a few things that I picked up. Nothing crazy, but some stuff you might not know. Go ahead, roll the video out.
Way to sell it, Brian.
Yeah.
So the first quick tip is going to be using QuickTime to do a video or audio recording. Without it, I wouldn't be able to do this review. So the first step would be to open QuickTime, go to File, choose Audio or Video Recording. The right-hand side of the tab shows you what options you have. And as I'm doing, and then once you hit the red button, you can start your recording. Now, as I am doing a video recording at the moment, I can't do an audio recording, but if you hit the stop button at the top, you will see a window showing what you've just recorded. Now, when you go to close that file, you'll have an option to export as and name it. Also, you can add a tag if you like and put it in whatever file destination you want. And for myself, I will be doing desktop. And that's how you save it. Now you've got yourself a screen recording that you can use to do tips or something like that. Next is kind of silly, but if you hold the shift button while clicking on something that does an animation, you can slow it down. Doesn't really serve a purpose, but one of those nifty things that you kind of pick up using Macs after a while. And it's kind of nice to see how the animation looks. Another tip, which isn't Mac specific, but if you wanted to zoom in on a website or something like that, you could hold Command and plus or minus to zoom in and out. Comes in handy when trying to view small texts. The next one, it doesn't matter if you're on Mac or PC, applications freeze. Now, typically you could hold down Command Alt Escape, and you will be approached with a dialog box to force quit whatever program that you want. But a quicker way is to go up to the Apple button in the top left corner and hold Shift. Now, where it normally just says force quit, it will appear with the program that you want to quit out of. So just hold Shift and force quit, and that closes the program right away without having to go into the dialog box. Another hidden option is if you go to the Apple button at the top and hold the Option key down, you'll see that the ellipses disappear when you hold them. Now, when you see the ellipse, that means that a dialog box will open up for whatever you're going to open. But if you hold down Option, it'll either go straight into the program or, give you a different hidden option that you normally wouldn't see without holding the button. Now, this also works for the volume rocker, which if you just left click on, you see the slider, but if you hold the Option when you click on it, it gives you all the different options for, internal microphone or different speakers that you'd like to use. This also works on the Wi-Fi button. If you just click on it, it'll show what Wi-Fi connection you're connected to, but if you hold Option, it'll show you all the details of that network. Now, sometimes you want to move around the icons at the top of the right-hand corner. This was one that bugged me for a long time when I first started using Macs, but if you hold down Command and left-click, you can drag the icons around, or you can even move them completely off the menu bar and make them disappear. This only works with the default Apple icons, but so the third-party apps like Dropbox that you see there or Google Drive, you can't move those around. But if you do accidentally drop one of your icons off of the menu bar, you can always go back into your settings and find the particular one that's missing, and there's usually a show button option at the bottom of the dialog box. Here's a couple quick tips if your Mac seems to be running a little slow. The first thing to do would be to see what items are booting up when you first turn on your Mac. So for instance, I have iTunes Helper, Dropbox, Google Chrome, Adobe Photoshop, And for Chrome and Adobe, I don't really want those booting up when the PC starts up, so I'll just deselect them and make them go away. And that way, there's less things opening when I turn on my Mac. Now, if you accidentally move something or you do want something to boot up when you turn on your Mac, you just hit the plus button and you can go through your applications and add them to the list. The next thing to check if your Mac seems to be running a little slow would be permissions. Now, there's a couple ways to get there, but I'll go into applications, and the program you want to open up is Disk Utility. Once you have Disk Utility open, you'll select your hard drive, and down at the first aid, on the first aid tab, you'll see a Verify Disk Permissions. Click that button, and it'll do a quick scan of the permissions on your Mac, and it usually takes a couple minutes to get through. And you'll see here I have a list of permissions that need to be repaired. This can happen over time through updates and new installations and things like that. Nothing to be too concerned about, but it could be giving you errors or slowing down your Mac. So after you've run Verify Disk Permissions, you just simply click Repair Disk Permissions, and again, it'll take a couple of minutes to go through. Now that my permissions are taken care of, we can move on to the next step. Now, I've been using CCleaner for a few years on my PC, and it works just as well on the Mac. It's a program that you can download to kind of streamline some of the options I've already shown you all in one program. It'll also analyze and delete any unnecessary files you have, like your internet history or cookies or even your trash. So it's a good way of getting rid of unnecessary clutter that could be slowing down your Mac. It also comes with a couple of tools incorporated into the software. So you could install programs from here. You can also click on Startup and see what programs are starting up with the Mac. And you can also repair permissions through it. Now, erasing free space, you could do that, but it'd take a long time and not really necessary. And that's the end of the tips.
So you could do all that, or you could just get a PC.
Hardy har har. Maybe people don't want to do that.
Maybe they don't. No, we were seeing a lot of comments in the chat room as we were going along, and they hate you. Wow.
I don't blame them, honestly, but I'm used to it now after working with you. I've seen what you've had to go through.
Now, I will say, now that you've given them the OS 10 tips, I think next episode we'll give them the Windows 8.1 tips that we told them we were going to do 3 weeks ago.
Right, because we teased those a couple weeks ago, and we've still done my tips before yours.
What we probably need to do is probably stop talking so much so we can actually get through the content.
I blame Alex. He's gone mad with power, and he doesn't let us do stuff. We just blame him for things.
See, he's doing it again. This is what we deal with every week.
On to the next thing.
Yeah, let's go to the next. Okay. So now that we've got a little bit of that out of the way, when we come back, we're going to actually be talking about this stuff. A few of the tips that I've picked up over the years on shooting multi-camera setups and shooting single-camera setups, but a bit more accurately that you can get with the built-in screens on your camcorders.
Cool.
But before that, I thought now might be a good time to answer a question. I got an email. I don't get a lot of these because most people don't have my.
You never answer my emails.
Oh no,
yeah. I didn't even know you had one.
But no, so someone did find my real email, and she emailed me, and she asked me this. She said, "Father Robert, thank you for your know-how." So you could do all that, or you could just get a PC.
Hardy har har. Maybe people don't want to do that.
Maybe they don't. No, we were seeing a lot of comments in the chat room as we were going along, and they hate you. Wow.
I don't blame them, honestly, but I'm used to it now after working with you. I've seen what you've had to go through.
Now, I will say, now that you've given them the OS 10 tips, I think next episode we'll give them the Windows 8.1 tips that we told them we were going to do 3 weeks ago.
Right, because we teased those a couple weeks ago, and we've still done my tips before yours.
What we probably need to do is probably stop talking so much so we can actually get through the content.
I blame Alex. He's gone mad with power, and he doesn't let us do stuff. We just blame him for things.
See, he's doing it again. This is what we deal with every week.
On to the next
yeah, let's
thing.
go to the next. Okay. So now that we've got a little bit of that out of the way, when we come back, we're going to actually be talking about this stuff. You know, a few of the tips that I've picked up over the years on shooting multi-camera setups and you know, shooting single camera setups, but a bit more accurately that you can get with the built-in screens on your camcorders.
Cool.
But before that, I thought now might be a good time to answer a question. I got an email. I don't get a lot of these because most people don't have my.
Never answer my emails.
Oh no,
yeah. I didn't know you had one.
But no, so someone did find my real email, and she emailed me, and she asked me this. She said, "Father Robert, thank you for your know-how Adobe Premiere lessons. I bought an educational discount copy of CS6, and I've really enjoyed following your examples. I've already created a few videos for my family, and now I'm turning my attention to YouTube. Quick question. I created a few videos that I want to turn into animated GIFs. Is there a program you would suggest for doing that? Free would be preferred, but anything within a student budget should work." That was from Melody in Manila in the Philippines. Oh, by the way, she also wrote, "P.S. You are way more attractive than Brian. I mean, he may have those boyish good looks and Doge-like reflexes, but he can't match your priestly mojo."
Well, I can't argue with that.
And that was totally in there. That was not just
I'm sure that was in there. Yeah.
I can dream. Okay, Melody, a good question, and actually good answer for you, which is, it's not just free, you already have it. You say that you've been using Adobe Premiere, and believe it or not, every version of Premiere from CS4 on up has a tool built into it that will let you make animated GIFs. Now, Alex, if you could go ahead and go to my computer. What we have here are two shots that I took from Netflix. This was just using the snipping tool that's built into Windows.
Okay.
As you can see, I'm a big fan of Doctor Who, so I went ahead and chose the angel.
Oh, that's a pretty statue.
It's a pretty statue, right? So, but this will work for anything. So you may have assembled a video down in your timeline here. Anything you put down there can be turned into an animated GIF.
Cool.
But remember, the longer you make the video, the larger the animated GIF is going to get.
Right. Okay.
So in this case, I just want 2 frames. I took this shot off of Netflix. I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to stretch it for, I don't know, let's say, let's go all the way up to 10 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so, because this is sort of a startle pick. So what I've done is, this is what the first frame is going to look like, right? So remember, this is my preview, this is my monitor. That's what it's actually going to look like, you know, when we're done. Then I have my second frame, which looks like this. This is the angel doing the angel thing. You know, she's a little mad.
Don't blink.
Don't blink, exactly. I'm going to drag it down here. Now, I'm going to do a little trickery on this frame. See, what I'd like is I'd like to get a smooth transition between that first frame and the second frame. So I'm going to go from that to that. I actually want it to get closer, not further away.
So you're going to zoom it?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into my effects, and I'm going to go ahead and bring that up a tiny tab, just like, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So now the transition will look more like this.
Like it's jumping at you.
Yeah, jumping at. Just a little bit of a jump, right? But I don't want it to go, because right now, if I go real time, it'll stay like that for like, 3 seconds. That's a bit too long. In an animated GIF, since it's going to loop, it's kind of nice to leave a frame in there very briefly.
Yeah.
Just so people are enticed to watch it again when they miss it. They're like, wait, what just happened?
So is the GIF going to play as long as the time that you have on the timeline?
Exactly, right. So this is in real time. So if I set this first frame for 10 seconds, it's going to hold that frame for 10 seconds in the animated GIF, and then it's going to jump, right,
and then loop again.
And loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this so that it's very brief. So in real time, it'll look more like it's going to go and then even that too long, right?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and let's really drag this thing down. Let's take it all the way. So that's just like a momentary gash. And now, for the Doctor Who fans, what we're trying to simulate is
a blink.
Yeah, you blinked, and okay, now you're gone.
Yeah.
That's okay. Now we're getting kind of scary. Well, this is just what video editing in Premiere looks like.
Okay.
Here's the cool thing: you don't have to buy any additional tools to turn this into an animated GIF. All you have to do is export. Go ahead and go back to my screen. We've got our sequence, our clip selected here. Hold on, let me just drag this open up a little bit more. Oh, geez. I didn't realize it was so big. That's what she said. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and export. File. Oh, yeah, I can't see the whole screen here. File, export, media. And I'm going to get this screen coming up. These are the presets. These allow me to select exactly what I'm going to be doing once I export this video. I'm not going to choose H.264 or any of that. There's actually a setting here for animated GIF. This is built into Adobe Premiere, which I kind of like. Now, once I do this, I can choose. You actually get more presets in CS 5.5 and 6, but here it's going to create a picture that's 320 by 240, 10 frames per second, right?
Okay, cool.
And once I do that and go ahead and export, it's going to create, I'm not going to do it now, but it's going to create an animated GIF that will look a little bit something like this. Let's go to my, my Plus page. I uploaded it last night.
So, of course, I was laying in bed when I saw this, about to fall asleep.
Why do you think I posted it at night?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciated that.
So this is the picture that I uploaded. So the cool thing about this is it looks just like because I actually primed people for this. I uploaded an angel picture earlier in the week. And now I ask people to stare at that for 10 seconds. If you stare at 10 seconds,
of course, I was looking and I was like, did I miss it? Did something happen? And then you look a little bit closer and then bam.
And then that, right?
So thank you.
Folks, if you've got Adobe Premiere, you actually have a really good way to do an animated GIF.
No, Padre, this is my snooty voice because people in the chat room are pointing out it's GIF.
You know,
or GIF.
I thought we had settled this on Twit, which is
we
shut
don't
up.
Care.
No,
right?
Seriously, folks, you can say it any way you want. Yeah, I prefer GIF because it rolls off the tongue.
And I prefer my peanut butter called GIF.
Right. So yeah, have fun.
Whatever.
Yes. There's bigger things to be
cool.
upset
Thanks
about.
for showing us, Padre.
All right. So I thought maybe now that we've done a little bit of Premiere, why don't we talk about camera setups?
Do we have time for cameras?
Wait, Alex?
Yeah.
Just check with the authority here.
I think
go.
we could squeeze it in.
Go.
Okay,
you're allowed. All right. All right. So we use these sort of prosumer cameras in the studio, right? And one of the things about prosumer cameras is the LCDs are okay.
Yeah, they're super tiny, too.
They're super tiny, and they actually kind of wash out color. They're not great for color representation.
Right.
What we'll end up doing a lot is just looking through the viewfinder here, because the viewfinder in most of these higher-end prosumer cameras is actually of the same resolution as the screen. So you get color representation better doing it this way. But this is a horrible way to shoot, because then suddenly you're limited from doing these interesting angle shots.
You lose your frame of reference, so you might miss something going on that you want to catch on the camera and stuff.
Right. So what some of us have been doing is we've been investing in these camera top monitors in order to get a really, just a much better representation of what's going on in the shooting world, with better color reproduction, with much larger screens, with better, real world color accuracy. So I thought now might be a good time to go to a video that I shot at NAB at the Marshall booth to demonstrate what's possible with camera tops.
Cool.
If you've been shooting with prosumer equipment, you know that one of the biggest drawbacks is that, well, your monitor just doesn't cut it. That little teeny tiny screen that may come with your camera, no matter how expensive it may be, just doesn't give you the size, the accuracy, the color reproduction that you demand. That's why we're here at Marshall to take a look at some of their camera top monitors. Devin, thank you very much for talking to us. What do we have in front of us?
We're looking at the Orchid 901 Broadcast Series camera top monitors. These are going to be our most advanced feature-rich monitors. They're going to have waveform, vector scope, audio bars, all with programmable features on them. You're going to get peaking filters, false color filters. These give you the tools that you need to do the best shooting you can.
So pretty much these are the top of the line. How much do they run and where are they available?
These monitors, depending upon what version you get, are going to run in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. These are available through any of our integrators throughout the country. You can certainly go to lcdracks.com to view the full specs on these.
Fantastic. Now, these are great, and these are our top of the line, but I understand that you've got some, well, lower, I don't say lower end, but lower cost units for the prosumer who just wants something to shoot with.
Absolutely. So what you're going to see here is our VLCD 70MD. This is our most popular monitor that we sell in the 7-inch series. This isn't going to have all the scopes on it, but it does have the waveform on it. You're going to get the audio bars, and you're going to get a fantastic picture with false color as well as peaking on it. What we've done this year to improve upon this monitor is over here. This is now a full resolution 1920 by 1080 panel. There is no scaling in this, so you're going to get the best picture possible with this. The flexibility of this monitor is fantastic. There are different battery mounts that are available from Sony, Panasonic, Anton Bauer. You also have the flexibility to change the inputs. On the back, you're going to get HDMI inputs natively. Then we have a card-based system where you can input 3G HD SDI. You can do cross conversion on a monitor such as this. So it really is one of our most flexible, value-priced monitors. The VLCD 70 has a list cost of $999, while our new high-resolution VLCD 71 has a list cost of $1999. You can see all the specifications on these monitors at www.lcdracks.com.
Well, there you have it. If you want to see more, and if you want to see a smaller consumer version of this, make sure to stay tuned to our Twit TV coverage. I'm Father Robert Ballister. This is Devin, and if you want to see what you're shooting, put a Marshall on top.
Oh man, Padre. I had to wipe up some of the drool after that.
Yeah, no,
that.
those are nice.
Whew.
But here's the thing. Those are beautiful, and I'd love to get one of those, but you know, $1,000 to $4,000, I don't have that cash.
Maybe Leo would like to try one out.
Wait, Sarah has his credit card, right?
Yeah. Cha-ching.
All right. No, but so what we thought we would do is we would show you some Marshall products, some camera top monitors that don't run in the $1,000 to $4,000 range. In fact, this one runs more in the $200 range, and there are actually units below this. This is a 5-inch camera top monitor. Now, the cool thing about this is, well, of course, I have this backwards so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So, like,
right.
Yeah.
Sorry, no cameras.
No, none of the paparazzi. The nice thing about this is it's just so light. This thing weighs about 9 ounces without the batteries. It's using a battery pack right now that's filled with AA's, but you could just as easily fill this or connect this to the camera battery.
Yeah.
And when I've been using this in shoots, one of the things I love doing is I will have this on a 2-camera setup, but I'll have the monitor plugged into the second camera, which means I can monitor both cameras from one place. I use the internal screen and I use this. Yeah. It's an incredibly flexible piece of gear. Now go ahead and run that B-roll so that they can see some of the closer features, some of the things that I've been doing with the Marshall. So again, this is the Marshall MCT5 portable camera top field monitor. It's a 5-inch 800 by 480 LCD screen. It's got 10 millisecond response time. It's got an LED backlight, a 16 by 9 aspect ratio, 145 degrees of viewing angle from left to right. It's got 130 degrees of viewing angle up and down, and it will scale up to 1920 by 1440. So any prosumer camera that you use, unless it's 4K, will look just fine on this. It will do PAL and NTSC, plus what I like about it is the flexible power options. You saw the AA battery pack on the back, but you could also use an AC DC adapter, a 12-volt car accessory adapter, a camera battery adapter.
Nice.
It pulls about 7 watts of power. Which means on 6 AA batteries, it will provide about 2.4 watts of discharge, lasting about 2 hours.
That's usually about the recording time that I would do on something. But what I like about it is that you can attach it, because it's so small and light, that you can attach it to like a DSLR.
Exactly.
Like that.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, yeah, for people using DSLRs, this is absolutely perfect. It has HDMI in and out, which is why I could pass from the camera to the monitor out to the TriCaster. Also composite in and out, as well as a 2-watt speaker, a 3.5mm audio out jack. So if you could have this as your producer monitor, just listening to what the cameras are picking up. It also does mounting points at the top and the bottom of the monitor, which is something that a lot of the cheaper models don't do. Because sometimes I mount it from the bottom, but sometimes I mount it on, as you saw in some of those videos, on like a hanging arm off the side of the camera.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and with a weight just over 9 ounces, it just feels nice and light. See, that's my 2-camera setup with the monitor being used to see what the second camera is seeing, which means I can run a 2-camera setup by myself. It gives you all the controls for the brightness, the contrast, the hue, the color saturation. You can change color temps if you want to match a shooting condition, or if you know you're going to be color correcting later on. You could also zoom in on particular pieces of the frame, which is kind of nice, you know, if you want to see exactly what a camera is looking at. And again, this particular model you could find, I think, between about $220 and $250.
Yeah, for those solo shoots, multicam shoots, this seems like an essential part of a kit that you'd want to have together.
Right, right. Now, Reverb Mike in the chat room has a good point. He says, well, who wants to shoot with all that stuff attached to the camera? Normally, I'm like that.
Yeah, I'm used to having shotgun mics and all sorts of stuff attached to the camera like that. So
Yeah. It's nice to have everything self-contained, but you get to the point where you don't just want the quick guerrilla shot. You need something that actually looks good. And you're not going to get that off the internal LCD monitor of a camera.
Right.
As good as these may be, they're too small. They're not really designed for accurate color reproduction, which means you're going to get into the studio later on. You're going to have to do a lot of post-processing, color fixing. Just avoid that. Get something like this. Now, I don't have it on all the time. In fact, most of the time, I'm not running with this. But for $200, that's something that I'd like to have in my kit.
Especially for multicam, but like I could see using this with my DSLR to make sure things are in focus because the screen on there is so tiny. It's like, oh yeah, it looks like it's fine, and then I get it blown up into 1080 on my monitor on my computer.
Like, oh yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing I really, really hate. Where you're filming something, you think this is great, this is great. You get it back to the studio, and now you're on a 24-inch monitor instead of a 2-inch monitor, and you realize like this part was out of focus.
Yeah.
Or there's a small, oh no, that got into the frame.
It's like the Instagram effect, because it's like you take an Instagram picture, and it's like, oh yeah, that looks great on my phone, and then you blow it up on your computer, you get like a printout of it, and it's like super grainy.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, CAMP is saying the right thing, which is, you need the info to make the right shooting decisions.
Yeah.
That's what this does. I would say put this in your gearbox and have it ready to give to someone to watch as you're shooting. Give it to your producer so your producer can actually look for those details as you're doing your job as the cameraman.
Absolutely. I like it.
I like it. So, Marshall, now that we've taken a look at this, if you could send us one of those, send us the 4K camera.
You know, if one happens to fall off a truck and land at our front door, that's cool.
Speaking of landing at our front door, you know, this was a lot of information that we covered. Everything from the Mac OS X tips to the Adobe Premiere tip to this, all the information about where you could get something like this.
We're going to need notes for that.
We are.
And you can find those, too, on the internet.
Where?
At twit.tv/KH, where we also have a list of all our former episodes. And you can go through the show notes, find links, information, the steps for, you know, OS X tips. You know, when Padre does his Windows 8.1 tips, it's going to say, don't install Windows 8. No, right? And on the show notes. I'm working with a bunch of Windows
Why
fans.
must you be the screen door in my submarine?
I love Windows, don't worry.
Whatever.
Anyway, there's the webpage. We make everything available. You can watch the episode again or subscribe, which would be great too.
Yeah, you can find a way to get your our episodes on any device of choice. You know, you can get the audio version for the ride home. You can get the high definition version for your Roku at home, or you could get something in the middle for your tablet. We do it because we love you. Also, you could email us at knowhow@twit.tv. That will not get to us at all. In fact,
unless you compliment Padre on his looks, and then he'll read it out on the episode.
Actually, that's because she actually found my real email address, which again, I don't know how you did that, Melody, but awesome. Well done. Well done, clever girl. But the best way to get a hold of us is on our G+ page, right, Brian?
That's right. And you can see Padre's really freaky angel post. But yeah, no, we have over 6,000 people on that on the Google Plus community, and there's a lot of great ideas being passed around out there. So you can submit show ideas for us or show us your projects, which we would love to show on the show. So
yeah. And remember, we do that feedback thing once a month. So if you get good questions or pictures of your projects, we're probably going to feature you. You can have your little moment in the Know It All group. Yeah,
right. It's almost like you'll be part of the team.
Like right here.
Except for Alex, he's not part of the team.
Yeah, speaking of Alex, could we go back to him? Alex, did we fit everything in the right amount of time?
I think we did it just right.
You're not going to press the Destroy Planet button again?
Not today, no.
Wow, thank God.
I do have another special button that I'll wait for the end of the show.
Oh. He's going to blow us up.
Great, here we go. Well, until we get blown up, I'm Father Robert Ballas, or you can find me at twitter.com/PadreSJ.
And you can find me on Twitter at cranky_hippo.
And now that you know,
go do it. Boom!